bloodline ends with me.
America has declining birth rates. Why do you think this is happening? Because today there's two schools of thought.
All right, let's hop in. Let's see what the people have to say.
Do you think you'll regret it if you never had kids?
No. I am not sure if I want this environment to my kids.
The idea of being pregnant just does not appeal to me.
If someone else is paying for the kids.
Not to mention easy access to birth control.
People are dying.
My bloodline ends with me.
America has declining birth rates. Why do you think this is happening? Because today there's two schools of thought.
The number of humans on Earth needs to go down, or it will be our downfall.
The planet cannot support more people.
Can our planet even sustain nearly 8 billion now and 10 billion by 2050?
How are we going to feed everybody, get water to everybody, provide power to everybody? How are we going to do this?
Or are we focusing on the wrong problem?
This is the most commonly misunderstood situation. What we face is population collapse.
The size of family shrinks precipitous, like below replacement. There's going to be a terrible shortage of young people.
And so are we headed towards decline and even worse, extinction? So I'm out here today and the question I'm asking is, do you want kids?
I have kids, but if I didn't have a kid, I'd still want a kid. The only way we're gonna survive is to embrace being human. Just because we can do something, it doesn't mean we should.
I already had kids.
Have you always wanted kids when you were growing up?
Yes.
Who do you want your kids to have kids?
If it's right for them.
By the time I'm 35.
Our parents' generation. Why do you think this is happening where my generation, like Gen Z and millennials, are having kids a lot later in life?
People are preferring to live their own lives. Some selfish.
We are poor. We are fucking brokies. We're poor. We don't know how to manage money. Like the relationships that we've been seeing ahead of us, especially on social media, because that's where most of us get our information from. We're hyper stimulated by messed up examples. We're seeing people divorcing, we're seeing people beating their wives, we're seeing people stealing from their husbands, we're seeing like messed up scenarios everywhere, every day. That is what most of us are seeing. We're seeing the whole face culture, we're seeing the high value man culture. Everybody wants to sleep with everybody. Like, that is why nobody wants to be in a committed relationship anymore. Everyone is scared. Everyone is so fucking self-centered. That is why we are. That is why we don't want to have kids. We're like most of us are only thinking about ourselves. All right, that was a rant. But the main thing is that I'm broke, nigga. I'm broke. That's really why.
Fish lives with no kids, with no problems, with more money to spend with themselves.
I think that you're exposed to a lot more of what's going on.
Having kids means taking
exactly
away from
what I've said.
What would you say to that as someone who's been a mother?
Oh, it definitely takes away from your freedom.
So did you ever regret it during that process?
No, I found it difficult at times. And sometimes, you would daydream and like wonder like, ooh, what would life be like? But then there's like your kid, man. Like I have massive love for my girls.
So for them, it's like being in person.
What that lady said is very, very valid. I don't have kids, right? But I can imagine it's kind of like with every other thing. With every other thing, there are some things that you're limited to. Like it's not even just about having kids. It's life. It's life. Like if you get a pet, right? Like for you people that say you don't want to have kids and then you call yourselves pets parents and stuff like that. It's ridiculous, but that's what you like, so that's cool. It's ridiculous to me because I don't even like pets in general, but yeah. Anywho, my point I'm trying to make is that with everything, you're going to have to sacrifice something. For example, if you want to get a degree, you want to pass, you're going to have to sacrifice. Like maybe sometimes you might want to your friends will want you to hang out with them and you'd be like, oh no, I need to study for an exam. You're sacrificing something. You're taking out time to do something that in the long run you feel like is going to have an impact, a positive impact in your life. It's the same thing with every other thing you do. You want to make money, you have to take out time to do something else. You want to sleep well, you have to take out time to do something else. You want to watch, even me that I'm reacting to this, I'm taking out time from something else that I would have been doing. I could have been studying. I could have been chatting. I could have been reading a book. I could have been watching tutorials or something. But I'm here reacting to this video, giving my 2 cents. And if you're watching this, you're taking out time from something else that you could have been doing to do something else. So it's life in general, really. There's always give and take. And for some things you have to give more, because at the end of the day, the reward is more. So again, if you raise your child properly, the reward, it's going to be more rewarding than if you slack off and you want to do what you want to do. Again, there's going to be a reward for whatever you do. The bill always comes due. So yeah.
Person, or is like us, like social media, like Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, we can connect more easily.
Do you think we're more connected though?
I think that maybe just like access to technology has just shown us like how much more there is out there.
And look, it seems paradoxical, but is this infinite access to potential options and technology the direct contributor to our falling birth rates?
Yes.
When you're single, everyone's always like, hey, get on a dating app.
What's my #1 opening line on Tinder?
With a click of a button, dating apps presents you a pool of potential partners with an algorithm built to keep you addicted to the promise of finding the one.
I just feel like that she's the one, you know what I'm saying? I FaceTime her a lot. Her personality really matched who I am.
Even with the seemingly equal and never before seen opportunity to find love while taking a shit, the outcomes have been far from equal. What they found with the Tinder economy is that the bottom 80% of men in terms of attractiveness are competing for the bottom 22% of women, and the top 78% of women are competing for the top 20% of men. And so for those at the top with options, there's a paradox of choice in dating where people are always searching to avoid committing to one person in fear of losing out on someone even better out there. Whereas for most men, it's a different reality.
Over the last decade, the number of men reporting no sex in the last year has tripled.
Compared to past generations who were getting jobs, having sex, getting married, and then having kids earlier, almost 1/3 of men under 30 today haven't had sex in the last year or haven't had sex at all. And with the rise of AI, not only is there genuine fear that automation will start replacing people's jobs, from truck drivers to even lawyers, it may even start replacing human companionship.
The whole point of a robot is that you can have a relationship with it.
I stopped seeing her as an it, and more as not a person, of course, but something more.
And so are we raising a generation of men who are risk averse and not developing the competencies required for adult responsibilities like starting a family?
I saw you and I thought you were, and I was wondering if I could get your, no, forget it, yeah.
Because are we at a point where adolescence is becoming an extension of childhood rather than the beginning of adulthood?
Yo, let me move this so that you guys can see what is there. Emotionally immature child. Yo, this is something I've been thinking about for a while. I feel like we've gotten to this point where people are trying to stay in this state of perpetual childhood. So it's like some people don't want to grow up. Not because some people don't want to grow up, not because they want to remain children, right? But they want to be adults, but with childlike responsibilities, which is close to zero, which is close to none. And that kind of keeps some people in the mindset of having that perpetual state of childhood where you're seeing life through a lens of, oh, I don't want to grow up. I want to be a child. And so that the Peter Pan story kind of brings true, where it's like they go to Neverland where they never grew up. But instead of going there, some people are trying to like create that world. So I don't know. It's a thought. It's something that I think about, but I'll probably like have proper ways to put it into words later once I like think more about it and bounce the idea off with a couple of people as well. So yeah.
Shut up, bro. Come on, I'm grown. And so it's important to consider that for every action, there's always an equal and opposite reaction. And so how is all this impacting women and ultimately the future of our population? Do you think people look down on being a mom today? The reason why I asked this is because you even prefaced this saying that you want to be a stay-at-home mom. Like that's like a bad thing.
To be a stay-at-home mom, like you have to have money. Unless your one partner is able to pull for the both of you and your family, like you cannot be a stay-at-home mom.
I think a lot of people like glamorize motherhood, but then I think a lot of people have started dissing people who are mothers or who embrace motherhood. I don't know, I've been seeing like a lot of TikToks of people who once they have children, it causes like stress in the marriage.
I don't know if you are on TikTok, but there's a whole thing with like the girl with like the list of like reasons why you should not have kids.
And this TikTok list by Unique Thoughts is a compilation of over 350 reasons to never have a child. She compiles TikToks from various accounts and adds them to her list of reasons ranging from baby parasite to uterine trauma. And based on its engagements, the videos have become pretty damn popular. But it does make you think, does it reflect the popular trend nowadays to bash pregnancies and to encourage women to reject motherhood?
I've also seen like a lot of people in like the public space that choose to not have kids, so it's kind of like I have a role model of women who don't want the same outcome of their life that has just been kind of just like a generational thing.
We learn a lot of things nowadays based off like social media, what people decide to share.
Having children isn't always like the best option for everyone, and I think people are just starting to realize that.
And in developed countries with greater access to education and birth control, there tend to be lower fertility and birth rates. And along with it, a shift where women now have the opportunity to prioritize their own careers and goals, unlike in underdeveloped countries where family and children are the traditional focus. And with that, it made me consider another perspective. Do you feel like the societal pressure to have kids is unfair?
I live in the LA bubble where a lot of people are doing similar things than what I'm doing. They're focused.
Yo, the way the questions this guy asks, like they're so, like they're definitely thought out. Like they're definitely thought out, but there's something different about the way he asks his questions. Yeah, him and it's complicated. The way they ask their questions, apart from the fact that they kind of like lead you to one thing, but the questions are very good in bringing out some certain aspects of your thoughts, some certain aspects of your psyche that you've definitely not thought about before, especially not in a particular context. Maybe it just passes your mind and you're like, okay, this thing kind of makes sense to you. And then for some people, they don't challenge their beliefs. And the way he asks his questions, they're like very thought-provoking and very mentally tasking. Yes, they sound like they're just simple questions with simple answers, but if you actually like settle down to think about the questions, then and your answer, right, then you'd realize that these questions aren't they're not kid questions, they're not baby questions. So yeah, very very like very big kudos to him. Kudos to him for that. So yeah, let's get back to it.
Focusing on their career.
I'm curious, like in your immediate circle, how many of them have kids?
Oh, none.
Luckily, like all my family are just like, they know I'm going for my goals and they're not pressuring me, which is great. But I know some people get pressured.
I feel like women are kind of seen as like, that's your job, that's your responsibility. But I think a lot of times people forget that like our responsibility is just to kind of enjoy the life that we're living.
For generations, adult femininity was most correlated with having children, and not having any was putting your individual needs above the country's. Even the Pope recently criticized couples that were having pets over children in response to the declining global birth rates.
E tante coppie non hanno dei figli perché non vogliono, ma hanno due cani, due gatti, si toglie umanità.
And so it's evident that both men and women now have different realities, priorities, and access. But is this what's contributing towards population collapse in many countries like America? Because for some countries, is it already too late?
Japan's Prime Minister Fumio Kishida has warned that the declining birth rate is putting the future of the country at risk.
Japan has been facing low birth rates and an aging population for several decades now, where in the past year, the number of deaths in the country has reached twice the number of births.
People have many competing priorities to weigh children against.
The Prime Minister
Wait, wasn't it also Japan that said, or was it China, that passed a law that they had to like reduce how much they're giving birth. Was it China or Japan? I forget. Yeah, the thing is, and I don't even, and please, if that was like a myth, right? Please let me know, because there's so much information out there that it's almost hard. Like you have to be specific to get some information or get the right thing. But yeah, that's very unfortunate. Where at some point we were hearing rumors of, oh, this country says you shouldn't give birth to more than 2 or 3 kids, and then now the same country is complaining that there's a decline in their population, which means that it could mean, it doesn't necessarily mean this, but it could mean two things. We are dying at an equal amount of rates. We're dying at an equal or greater amount than we're being born, or we're giving birth to people, which is going to create a problem. So people are thinking that by the year 2050, we're going to be about 10 billion on the planet. And it could be, and then because of that, they're encouraging people to have less kids. But it could be the case that we should be encouraging people to have more kids, because now, as technology advances and things get, a little better and stuff like that, we're going to have issues with the workforce. We're going to have issues with, we're going to have issues with the workforce, especially with AI and all that. So now we're going to have a lot of people that would more or less be doing skilled labor, right? Like bricklaying and stuff like that, because that can't be automated yet. So there's going to be a lapse in that. Definitely. That's one. Two, we're going to be facing a scenario where if we encourage people to have less kids, right, the older generation is going to be more than the the older population is going to be a lot more than the younger population, which is not good for any economy, right? Because the workforce is made up of a younger population, and so there's going to be that decline in that aspect, and so we're going to have more older people and less younger people, and then even less people being born, which again generally interprets into a societal collapse. And finally, because of that, the economy is not going to move forward, because again, the older people, they're going to be retiring, they're not going to be able to efficiently and effectively do jobs. So jobs are going to be in demand. It's just going to create a shitload of imbalance. So yeah, no, it just seems like a very terrible thing altogether. But yeah.
The warning that Japan is on the brink of not being able to maintain social functions, and that the country cannot wait any longer to solve problems. And it's not just Japan.
South Korea is facing a population crisis.
Italy's decreasing population is the most pressing issue that needs to be addressed.
Many developed countries are even providing financial incentives for couples to have more children. It's to a point where even China, the world's most populated country, is now experiencing population decline caused by the impact of their one-child policy that was implemented to control.
Oh, so it was China.
China did have a one-child policy, but about 10 years ago they changed it to a two-child policy. Then a few years ago they changed it to a three-child policy. China's birth rate right now is 40% below replacement.
And with the economic impact that could result if low birth rates continue in these large economies, it becomes apparent why even traditionally isolationist countries like Japan are considering opening up their borders. And so I wanted to ask a Brazilian immigrant in America about immigration. People point to immigration as a solution when societies are having less kids. But do you think that also leads to further societal issues? Do you think that it brings more of a benefit or more of a detriment?
I think it brings both. Once they bring a lot of people from all over the world, they would need to reorganize themselves and respect their own laws and their own culture. But in a certain point, I do believe that immigration could be the problem to solve, and also family planning. It's crazy still that you see a family that is poor having 5 kids.
And so then, what's happening in these less developed countries? Underdeveloped countries like Angola and Chad have birth rates as high as 8 per woman in younger populations. But as a country gets richer, birth rates decline. Nigeria is a prime example. As their economy grew to the largest in Africa, its birth rates decreased. Not only does a growing economy change access to education and family planning, but also affords opportunities to shift attitudes towards marriage and family. And so there's a tricky balance between having enough money to have kids and a general decline in desire to have kids as wealth increases. What does this tell us about society and what we truly value? Because when we look at these trends, what does it say about our priorities? Often it's only in hindsight when we can realize what we truly value. Do you think you'll regret it if you never had kids?
I think a lot of times people have more feelings of like, I wish I would have waited. Maybe I would have like thought things through more before having children versus people who don't have them. I feel like they less of the time like regret not having.
You know, because honestly, in the past I've thought about it. Like, and I also have a brother, talking to him about stuff, and we're just like, you know, I think that it would be okay if we did not. You know what I mean? I feel like the world will be okay.
Yeah, I think it's something that naturally I'd want if I had more time. If I could still have kids at like 60, 70, which maybe you might. I mean, there's probably women out there in general. I'm just thinking I'm probably gonna time out.
Would you be really sad if you didn't have kids?
Yes, I feel like I would. As like a nanny, I feel like I've been around them for so long, so if I didn't have them, I would be kind of a little bit upset.
Kind of just hoping that I won't regret it, but I could also see how maybe when I become older, like not having someone that's forced to take care of me.
Right. I mean, because we changed a lot, right? I'm guessing you, when you started college, is a lot different than you are who you are today, right?
Totally, yes.
Because I've also seen how my desire for wanting kids have changed as I've entered my mid-20s. Because for a long time, I didn't want kids. And call it getting older, but the biggest shift was how I started to view relationships. The Harvard study of adult development is the longest running study on happiness. And since 1938, it has tracked 268 initial participants and even their children's lives and well-being to see what made people happy. And what the study consistently found was that it wasn't money or status or the shiny car, but strong relationships with family, friends, and romantic partners that was crucial not only for happiness, but for health and even resiliency.
Good relationships keep us happier and healthier.
So it made me think, does Western society's emphasis on individualism and personal achievement actually make us happier? Or is the neglect of the family unit and values and disregard for others exactly what's making our lives more challenging? Do you think like having kids is a key to having like a fulfilled life?
Well, having kids is very, very good. I love my kids. I love having kids. The first baby, when I was 18 years old, was a very difficult parenthood. You can imagine how a kid going to college experienced a life of paternity. And so we went through.
Like for me, I think it's key to happiness. Like I said, they're going to be a little fun, you know? They're going to be annoying, of course. They're kids. I know I was annoying.
I was annoying too.
I don't think it's for everyone. It's a hard job, and so for some people, yes.
That and I feel like at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. It's not for everyone. Everyone doesn't have to take the path that you take, right? It's there's some things that would benefit some people and it wouldn't work out for some people. So again, it's not for everyone. You just need to find what works for you, enjoy your life, do the best you can, do right. If you're going to have kids, do right by your kids. If you're not going to have kids, do right by yourself, do right by your partner. If you're going to have pets and do right by them. Take care of what you have to take care of. And yeah, you don't need to feel like the idea that, we need to force people into having kids and you must have kids because everybody has kids is silly to me. And the idea that you shame people for having kids, again, it's also silly. Like, let people do what they need to do in life to like enjoy themselves or to enjoy life, to get the best out of life, to get the best quality of life. And yeah.
But for some people, absolutely not.
Do you regret not having more kids?
No, had a perfect 2 girls, yeah.
Because at the end of the day, what we often fail to see is that the solution is in the nuance. Just like the example of overpopulation versus the risk of collapse, it's only when we finally recognize the negative consequences of prioritizing one side over the other is when we can finally understand that 2 opposing things can coexist. And just like how I used to think that having a family would detract from my lifelong goals like building a media company, I now realize that it can actually be my biggest motivator to achieve that and even more. And it's when we decide to fearlessly navigate through the nuances of life to find what truly matters to us. That's what I call exploring the unfamiliar. And with that, thanks for watching, and like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more content featuring street interviews into investigative journalism. And if YouTube gets it right, you'll like this video too.
Yeah. Yo, this guy, he's yeah, I have to like the video. You have to like the video, because come on, man. Yeah, I don't have anything extra to add onto what he has said or onto what I've said like previously. There is an issue with the population in general, and it's something that people are trying to get right. And you can't, the problem is you can't force people to do certain things. If this path doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for you. If this path isn't what you see going down the line, especially if you've done proper introspection, because I know there's sometimes that, oh, you would think you want something in your life, and then a few years later, you decide, oh, I want to change that thing, right? And for having kids, again, especially for women, there's like a time frame for you to be able to have this without complications. So for women, they don't necessarily have the luxury of time. Even men, because again, it's like how old is too old? There are some parts of your body that don't get to work at some certain age, right? And it doesn't function as well as they would have functioned when you were younger. It's normal, it's natural, it happens. So the main thing is understand yourself, understand the pros and cons. Look at what you want in life. Look at what you want to see in your life. Take some time out to do proper introspection. Take some time out to ask questions. Take some time out to understand what is going on, right? Because again, you might want to do something now and you regret it later on. And you might think you want something now, and at the end of the day, you realize that, oh, this isn't really what you wanted. So, yeah. My key takeaway from this is that you should understand yourself. Don't force people to take the path that you've taken or you've chosen for yourself. People are going to do what they want to do. If you're not going to meet them halfway, then, just stay out of it in the long run. So, don't forget to check out his videos. He makes very, very awesome content. Also like my video, if you like this reaction and stuff like that. So, take care, stay safe. Peace.
Were you seriously just going to enjoy the video and not like or leave a comment or subscribe? Really?